Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in the Undergraduate Success Series, Displaying Your Research, Creating Graphs, and Working with Numbers in MS Excel. This evening what we'll talk about is showing you how to create a couple of charts and working with some of the cell functions and formulas within Excel. Before we get started, what I'd like to say is that this webinar is being recorded and that I have placed everyone on mute. As always, if you have questions, please feel free to use the questions box or the chat function on the right-hand side of the screen. And what I will do is, after the 15 minutes are over, this is a 15-minute webinar, I will answer those questions as you have them. If your questions are not answered this evening, please feel free to contact me with the information on the screen. You can either email me or give me a phone call. I'd be more than willing to help you work with whatever issue you might be currently having. Since this webinar is 15 minutes long, we'll have to make it. We'll have to go rather quickly through the different slides, and hopefully there's not too much information that you won't be able to keep up. However, what I will do tomorrow afternoon, hopefully, is to send a link to the YouTube video, not only of this webinar, but also the one that preceded it and the one that will follow it this evening, both on APA Style and Word, and then also on PowerPoint presentations, along with the presentation itself and other documents that I will be using this evening. So why do we even use Excel? Well, Excel is a great tool for calculating numeric information, where in the past we had to use a pencil and paper and have lots of information calculated that way, or maybe even have a personal calculator to do that. In Excel, you've got a great opportunity to put those numbers in and then to either add, subtract, divide, whatever you need to do with that. It's also a great way to display information through graphs and charts, and that, like I said, that's one thing we'll try to do a little bit later in the presentation. And then one of the cool things with Excel is that you can use it to solve problems with numeric data. And so when you're going through your courses here at Argosy, you might be asked by an instructor, maybe in a statistics class, to work with Excel and come up with some statistical information. One real-world example would be if you use Excel for your budget, like I do at home. We put everything into, we have the months listed, and then we list what the different expenses we might have are, and then we can determine, or we can actually track and see how much we're spending on any given in any given area. So in the real world example, maybe you're finding that you're spending $150 each month to go out to eat, and so you want to save money, so you will go in and say, okay, I want to limit that to only $50 a month, or maybe another thing to a concern might be that once you put in there and you find out, you put in your cell phone bill and you see that you're spending $120 on your cell phone when you're, or maybe $200 on your cell phone and cable, whereas you're only spending, $50 on ramen noodles. Maybe that would be something to look at as well. Like I said, another thing that you can do with Excel is to analyze statistical information, like the mean, standard deviation. Tonight we'll be talking about the median, working with that. I'll show you that function. When I took a quantitative research course in my doctoral program, Excel is where we started out with. So there are a lot of things that you can do inside Excel that are related to statistics. So it's very nice. All right. So when talking about Excel, the basic concept is that it's broken down into columns and rows. If you look across the little screenshot I have here, the columns are the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so on and so forth. They go up and down, and the rows are the ones that go across, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can determine what cell you're working with within Excel by matching up the column and the row. So you could go to B2 or C3 or D4 or D5, whatever. And within those, you can put formulas in order to determine, or in order to calculate the data. So in this case, I've listed the different formulas you can use, but the cool thing about Excel is they've got there's buttons that you can click now where it does that or calculates that information for you, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to jump into my Excel spreadsheet that I've created, and what I want to do is I'm going to calculate the sum, average, and the median here. So if I highlight this row and I click on auto sum, it'll give me the total right here. So it just added everything and put in that that formula for me. So it calculated from B2 to B8. If I want to find the average, I can do the same thing where I just highlight it, go up to sum, click on average, and it gives me the average of all these. So it's calculated all these where it added them all together and then divided them. So for the median, it's a little bit different. What I want to do is show you, you'll see that that's not listed here, but if you go to more functions, if there's any function that you want to use in here, you can type in that function and it will show up in your functions area here. So I'm going to select median. I'll click OK. Well, and so because I put in this cell up here, it's going to give me my answer up here. So I'm going to cancel that. What I really want to do is the median here. So if I click on median, more functions, I've got median up here, I'll click OK, and then it's asking me what do I want to find the median for, and it says D2 through D8, so this is D2 and this is D8 here. So yeah, that's correct, so I'll just fix this again, D8, hit enter, and that should be the median. Now I know that's a median because the median is the number that's exactly in the middle. So I have 3 numbers up here, I have 3 numbers down here, and 60 is right in the middle of those. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unhide this section here. Now, this is how you can perform simple percentage functions within Microsoft Excel. And what you'll need to do is just type in these terms here, and this is exactly how it works. So if I do the equal sign, the parens, and then I do this is no, I want to, let's see, I want the percentage for, I'm going to use B7 here, B7, and you'll see that it highlights that particular cell, and I'm going to divide that by the total, which is B9. All right? I hit enter, and I've got 23%. Now I can do that with this line here as well. So I'm going to do equal sign, parens, B8 divided by B9. Whoops. And that will give me that percentage. And I will know that these percentages are correct if I do an auto sum and I get 100%, because that's the total. All right, so those are some of the simple functions that you can do with Excel. Those are the ones that are more common that you might have to utilize. Now what I want to do is create a chart and a graph, all right? And what I've done is found a journal article on the necessity of information literacy education in a marketing department. And what I've done is found a table within that particular journal called Time Students Have Used to use the Sources of the Library During the Last Year. So I've got e-journals and the Internet, and I want to create a column chart that shows that particular information. So what I'm going to do is I'll jump back into my Excel file. I'll go here. What I can do is if I highlight this information and go up to Insert, I can go to Column Chart, and I'm going to use the 3D column chart. It's a little more interesting than just the flat chart. And so what I want to do first is I want to give it a title. So as you can see here, there is no title. If I go up to Layout and I click on Chart Title, and you'll see that it says None here, and I want to have Above Chart. That's where I want my chart title to be. So you'll see that it gets filled in there. I'm just going to copy this information and then paste it in here. All right, so now I have a chart and my title. The next thing that I need to do is if I right-click on the graphs, one of the columns here, and I'll do it a little bit. Here you go. It highlights all the columns in that particular with that particular color. And so what I need to do, because I'm going to put this in a paper that I'm writing, is I need to right-click and then change the format data. And what I want to do is change the fill to a solid fill, but I want to change it from blue to dark gray, because when you're working with APA, they typically want you to have a muted color, like gray or a version of gray, black, whatever. And so I'm going to do that with the red series of columns as well, except in this case I'm going to do a solid fill, and my solid fill is going to be very light gray. All right, so I've got those various colors of gray. Lastly, what I want to do is format my chart and take out the border line. So I'm going to say no lines. All right, so now it doesn't have a line around the outside. So lastly, what I want to do is I'm going to copy this and go into a Word document I've created. Now, I've already gone through the trouble of putting in the figure information here, which essentially just refers back to the article. This is something that you can find in the APA Style Manual. You'll want to have the number of the figure, and you'll also want to have that number of the figure within the text of your document. I've also got the in-text citation information here. This is basically from a paraphrased reference to that particular article, and then I've also got the reference section down, or the reference citation down here. Now, since I want my chart to go right here, what I'll have to do is once it's in here is I need to change it so that it doesn't mess with my my formatting. So I'm going to go to Layout. I'll just click on Square. I think Square is the one that works. Yep, Square, and then I'm going to center it. And if I just hit Enter here, that'll push that the information down. So here's where you're able to take information from a website, from an article, turn it into a chart, and then place it within your paper. Next, what I'm going to do is, instead of doing the column chart, I want to do a pie chart. When you're working with information that is in a percentage form, pie charts are very good for that. So what I'm going to do is just highlight one of the two and go up into Insert, Pie Chart, and I'm just going to use the 2D model for this one, and I'll click on Pie Chart. It gives me the pie chart. Next, what I'm going to do is highlight the pie chart, and then what I can do is add data labels, right? Because right now it's not telling me what the percentages actually are. This will give a better representation of what's going on with that particular document, or pie chart, excuse me. So now what I can do is copy this, and if I go into my PowerPoint presentation, oh, you'll see that I already have one there. I'll just redo this. Whoop. So you can paste it. Oh dear. All right, so it didn't copy. There we go. I can copy that information. Go to my PowerPoint presentation, and I can make it larger so it fits better on the screen. You can see that even in a PowerPoint presentation, we should include a citation, figure 1, it's a pie chart, so on and so forth. So that's another way that you can get information into your presentation. All right, so let's go back and continue talking about some of the resources that are available to you. I've included two here. One is the virtual training course, and they've got all kinds of Excel tutorials for you to look at. And then there's also lynda.com, which if you are in the Gen Ed, taking a general education course, or you might even have this in another class as well, there should be a link that looks like this with the plus sign and then says something about tutorials. That should take you to a number of different tutorials on PowerPoint or Excel or Word, so on and so forth. If you have any questions, or if there's anything that you're curious about. Typically for myself, I've used that, but I've also just gone into YouTube if I have a question about how to do something. And there's all kinds of YouTube videos out there as well where the individuals are working you through, showing you how to do these the various things with the Microsoft Suite. All right. So lastly, in wrapping it up, Excel is great because it allows you to calculate data and problem solve, and you can do some statistical analysis. You can create charts and graphs. You actually can cite in APA style, as is indicated in the APA style guide. And then there are other resources out there for you if you do have questions. So at this time, I'm finished with the presentation, and I'll be